Mic check 1 2, man. Reminisce Show every Tuesday, 7 p.m. live Eastern time. We got to go back and collect what we have forgotten, man. Sankofa, you know the traditions. I go by Logic, and I'm here with my brother.
Mind Bender Supreme, what's up? What up?
Man, we're out here, man. I'm excited, man. We got a special guest, that we're gonna pull on stage, man, real soon. My brother, Ajani Charles, man, the founder of Project T Dot. I'm gonna get into a bit of his bio in a little bit, but as always, man, before we start, let's do a little check-in, my brother, man. How's things going on your end?
Things are going okay. Things are going okay. Thank you for asking. It's been a very interesting week. A lot of ups and downs. Still healing
Yeah.
my arm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I unfortunately, actually, I gotta say, I'm taking a page out of your book. To be honest,
Taking a page out of my book, build on that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just say it like that. I mean, I really try to be Mr. Front Row as much as I can, but I
Yeah.
unfortunately missed the 420 concert with Styles P and Capadonna and
Ah, man, I
Wesley.
can't believe that was.
It was on Sunday, and yeah, it was a 420 concert, and I would have loved to see. I've seen Styles P perform. I Get High, but like I've been cutting. I'm saying all this to say I'm cutting back
Yeah.
my smoking. I'm not cutting it off, but I'm reducing it
Picking up great. Yeah.
and shifting it.
Sometimes you
And
got to do
yeah,
that, you know.
so yeah, it is that time. And to be honest, if anybody knows, Redman said he took a break and he revealed it for the first time this year, and he said it was one of the best things he ever done in his life. So
Okay.
I'm right there.
Oh,
So that's what my check-in is. I need a spring cleaning for my lungs, and yeah. How about you? How are you
yeah,
feeling?
man. Yeah, I'm feeling great. We had like a session at our school today. We had a brother by the name of Danilo, and he's a basketball player on the Scarborough Shooting Stars. The
Amazing.
the league. You know what I mean? That's like support with OVO and all that. And this dude was just incredible, like such like a genuine human being. And a real love and desire to like empower young people and just to show them about some of the things that's going on, right? So um, yeah, it was just great to have someone like him there to build with the young people, to motivate them. We've been having some issues with attendance, like kids will come to school, but they won't necessarily go to class.
Mhm.
So he was there just to really show like the power of like showing up and how that connects to the future. And basically, the work that we do today is so that our future self can thank us. So I liked how we put that spin, man. You know what I'm saying? So planting those seeds, man, getting everybody motivated and whatnot. So yeah, that's what's up, man. So feeling good, man. Today, the weather's proper, and I'm just excited, for my brother to come through. Johnny Charles, like, I mean, he's like a real visionary, man. The things that he's been able to accomplish pretty much on his own is just phenomenal. You know what I mean? No funding supports, just off the strength of like passion and alignments and really just power of negotiations. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to have him on here. We're gonna pick his brain, man. But before we pull him on stage, I want to read I got this little bio thing going on here. You know what I'm saying? We gotta show some love. All right, man. So on today's episode, man, of Reminisce Show, man, welcome Ajani Charles, a Toronto-based photographer, director, producer, mental health advocate, and
Word.
of Haitian descent, right? His background in fine arts, Ajani specializes in creating impactful stories about the human condition, self-actualization, mental health, and he's also a Canon Canada ambassador. Like, that's a big Montaigne, Canon Canada, you know what I'm saying?
That's sick.
Ajani will be sharing his journey and discussing his long-term documentary project, Project T Dot, which captures the essence of Toronto hip hop culture and community. Initiated in December 2006, this project features candid images of both renowned and lesser known figures in Toronto hip hop scene, including members of the 2S LGBTQ plus Black and Indigenous communities, women and youth from equity deserving neighborhoods and newcomers. So he's really coming with a holistic approach when it comes to the Toronto hip hop scene. Project T Dot has been showcased at Toronto City Hall. Like, I don't think you understand how huge that is, man. Toronto City Hall, and it's currently displayed at Billy Bishop City Toronto or City Toronto Toronto City Airport. and has been doing, anyways, he's just been doing a lot of amazing things. So no further ado, man, we're going to bring him on stage. My brother,
Hey,
Ajani Charles, man.
hey, thanks for having me, and thanks for
Yes, sir.
thanks for the intro. I appreciate that.
Of course, man. Of course, man. Glad to have you here, man. 100%, man. Yeah, man. So, I guess we can
What
just
up?
definitely,
How's it going, my
yeah, but
brother?
get right into it. But before we get into it, we always like to do, yeah, we always like to do our check-ins, man. So why don't you let us know how you are feeling on a scale from 1 to 10, and like what's on your mind and heart right now at the moment.
Yeah, how was your day?
Yeah, right now I'm feeling probably an 8. Like I feel a little bit more energized now that I'm speaking to you, but I tend
Yeah.
to overwork, so I feel a little bit weary. But I have a lot to be grateful for. The
Yeah.
weather is getting nicer in Toronto, and that has a huge positive impact on my mental health. And I have
Mhm.
a lot of projects on the go that I'm excited about, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Enough
Dope,
love, man.
dope.
Well, we'll just definitely get back and get right into it, man. So with Project T-Dot, I'm curious to know, like, what was like the emotional or like spiritual spark, if you will, that led you to begin Project T-Dot in 2006?
Yeah, in 2006, basically, I was studying philosophy at Western, which is it's known as Western University now, but when I was an undergrad, it was the University of Western Ontario. And I have a fine arts background. I went to a specialized arts
Mhm.
school as a kid, and then I was part of, it was called the Claude Watson School for the Arts, and that was part of a specialized arts program by the same name, the Claude Watson Arts Program at
Okay.
Earl Haig Secondary School. So I was in this highly competitive arts program as a teenager at the largest high school in all of Canada at the time.
Oof.
And at the end of high school, I had an existential crisis, and because I
Mm.
didn't know if I wanted to pursue the arts professionally. So I ended up at Western studying philosophy because I thought philosophy could help me make sense of life and help me define my career. And I was like a crazy overachiever in high school. I was on student council. I was the
Mm.
arts council president representing the arts on student council. I was on the track and field team, the rugby team, the basketball team. I was doing all
Okay.
these extracurriculars. But by the time I got to undergrad, I was tired of all of that. So I wasn't very studious. I barely went to class, but I studied one of my classes, existentialism, really inspired me, and what I learned about existentialism inspired me. And as I got close to the end of undergrad, it was through existentialism that I realized that the smartest thing I could do was define what I'm most passionate about and then
Mhm.
structure my life around that passion. So after taking about 4 years off of the arts for the most part,
Mm.
I decided to become a professional photographer in December of 2006.
Okay.
And I had an enormous amount of creative energy within me because I had barely engaged in anything artistic throughout undergrad. Sometimes people would find out about my background. I'd get hired to shoot
Mm.
some small projects here and there, but for the most part, I took 4 years off. So I had an incredible amount of creative energy built up, and I was ready to hit the ground running once I graduated. And I didn't have any business sense back then, obviously, because it
Mhm.
was so early in my career and I was pretty much just a kid. But I knew that if I went back to Toronto, I would need something to differentiate myself from other photographers specifically. And I thought that, if I can't differentiate myself through business, if I at least have one project that could make me stand out, that would be helpful. So I thought, I love hip hop. I barely know anything about Toronto's hip hop scene, even though I'm from Toronto.
Right.
And so that's essentially the thought process that went into Project T Dot. But how it really sparked was
Mm.
my friend Ryan Horn. He went by the name DJ Doctor. Now his name is Lincoln Bio. So he's the official He's the official DJ of King of the Dot, and he invited me to a rap battle because I asked him, "Do you have any events coming up? I'm going to get back into photography. I'm going to do professionally, and I want to practice. Do you have any cool events coming up?" And he invited me to this rap battle series called Proud to Be a Battle MC. It was Proud 2, like the number 2, and A, like the Canadian A, to be a battle MC. And that was at the El Macombo in
Gotcha.
December 2006 and also in January 2007. So I went to 2 of those events, and documenting those events inspired. I came up with the concept for Project T Dot at those events, and also Organic, who is basically the face of rap battle in Canada.
Big Organic.
The second Proud to Be a Battle MC I went to was his first rap battle ever. So I documented his very first rap battle where the seeds of King of the Dot were planted. And I also met JD Era. I met JD Era for the first time at that battle as well. Okay. So that's essentially how Project T Dot came about. And my thought process was I wanted to document as much of Toronto's hip hop scene as possible through black and white photography specifically. And over time, it's evolved into, as you know, something much more complicated, much more detailed. But that was the early beginnings of Project T Dot.
Yeah, man. No, that's what's up, man. And I know that shortly after that, we connected. You know, we got connected through a mutual friend. Shout out Nix. And I remember when you know I got that message. You know, she messaged me like on IG, was like, "Hey, look, there's this guy Ajani. Like, you two are like on the same kind of frequency. Y'all got to connect." And we connected that one time when I was performing at York University, and you came to take some snapshots of myself and Misery. Shout out Unknown Misery. And we've been rolling ever since. We've been rolling ever since, man. So big up to you, man. I'll ask another question. I'll pass over my Benica. I know we got some stuff circulating. Another question is, how does your camera functions, not just as like a tool for documentation, but as a vessel for healing, both personal and collective? We're getting kind of deep on y'all.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I just recently, I wrapped up a workshop recently that I shot at a local spa in Toronto called Othership. It's a spa that I go to. It has ice baths and a sauna. And the workshop was for Canon Canada, and it was on mindfulness and photography. So that's something that I offer through Canon Canada that other Canon Canada ambassadors don't, because I'm a mindfulness instructor. I meditate every day, and photography, like most activities, depending on your mindset and to a certain extent your training, you can turn photography into a mindfulness exercise that helps you get present and that helps you to reduce stress. So photography brings me so much joy, and it takes me out of thoughts and ruminations about the past and present. I mean, the past and future, rather. So it's been a tool for healing. In many ways, photography saved my life. My life, especially during undergrad, was incredibly chaotic. And over the years, photography has been one of those grounding practices or habits in my life. So it's been incredibly beneficial to me. And it's also opened so many doors for me, professionally and otherwise. Like, without photography, without Project T Dot, you and I would have never met.
That's big facts, man. You know, these are the unifying connectors, and I'm so glad that I met you, man. We've had incredible journeys, just, you know, going to festivals and concerts. Like, a favorite memory that often comes to mind is that time we went to a Wakestock in Collingwood, Ontario, to see a Public Enemy perform, and we're on the highway, like ready to go, and we got like a flat tire, and you had to put on like the donut and drive like at like 70 kilometers an hour all the way to Collingwood. And it was a crazy mission, but you know, we made it like right on time and was able to, you know, secure that. And there's so many others, you know, Beanie Man, which, you know, it was crazy, man. There's so many incredible, so many stories, man. But I'll pass over mine, man. I know you got got some stuff circulating.
Man, I mean, I just want to just pick it up from there. I mean, so you've been doing it since 2006, and I just wanted to know, like, what's one of, I'm sure there's been a variety of insights that you've gotten, but I'd love to hear just like kind of a fly on the wall.
Mhm.
What's something that you've noticed that you see in the change between what you think about an artist and then what an artist is like when you start to photograph them? Because, you
Mm.
know, I'm assuming that, you know, not to say that you know everybody that you photograph, but, you know, say you're like coming across somebody that you're familiar with, and like whether you're, you know, doing something kind of candid with them, or if you've got them for like a shoot, like how do you notice people's energy change when you step behind the camera, if there's any
Mm.
changes? Do you feel like
I don't know. I for whatever reason, I find that I put people at ease. Uh, yeah, just I guess my presence, my energy, and maybe at this point, my reputation tends to put people
Mm.
at ease. And you know, Logic and I talked about this, I think a couple of years ago. Is like sometimes people, not only within the context of Project T Dot, but just generally throughout my life, some people will tell me things about themselves that they would never tell anyone else, and it's so weird. But it's also, I think it's a testament to how I'm able to unintentionally put people at ease,
okay?
Mm.
and
Mm.
that's been a huge asset in my life, especially within the context of my career. And I'm very grateful that within the context of Project T Dot, so many people trust me to document them, to convey their contributions to Toronto hip hop accurately, and to follow through on the mission that is Project T Dot, which has grown to become far more complicated than anything I could have imagined in 2006 or 2007.
Dope.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I just a quick addition to that. So, like, you're coming as a photographer, but are people are just confessing things to you? Like, are you doing interview stuff in the meantime, or or people are just opening up to you because of the way that you are photographing them? Like, you're saying that they're talking to you and revealing things, or like,
Yeah,
or is it? Yeah.
well, within the context of like portrait photography, um, within the context of portrait photography, I do always start with, you know, having a casual conversation. And
Okay.
like for example, yesterday I did a photo shoot with Marcia Deacon. So she worked for Attic Records back in the day with Maestro Fresh West. So
Yeah.
yesterday morning, the first thing I did was I woke up, you know, got ready, got dressed, had a coffee, drove to Brampton, did a photo shoot to her with her. As soon as I got to Brampton at it's called Professor's Lake,
Mm.
and the shoot wasn't that long. We were together for maybe, you know, half an hour, 40 minutes, and she told me so much about her life. You know, I'm not going to divulge everything she told me, but
Yeah.
she did share a lot of very personal things
Mm.
with me during that portrait session. And sometimes I don't get an opportunity to really get into profound conversations with people. If I show up at a concert and maybe I'm running late, I may not be able to speak to every single person performing. But within the context of portrait photography, especially, I do talk to people like I'm talking to you right now. And for whatever reason, over the years, people have divulged an enormous amount of information to me.
Amazing. That's dope.
Yeah, man, that's peace, man. You know, it kind of reminds me of like, you know, the saying that, you know, people often forget what you say, but they don't forget like how you made them feel, you know, and yeah, so like it's just beautiful that you're, you know, creating these spaces, whether intentional or unintentional, but a space where people can, you know, connect and feel seen and just to be without judgments, you know, where their authenticity can come out. So definitely don't take that light, bro. Like that's like a real powerful skill, and I feel like the world needs more of that type of energy. So you're leading by example, like, you know, without even realizing it, or maybe you do.
Yeah,
But
thank you. And like
Yeah,
I said, maybe I have a reputation that at this point that contributes to people uh, feeling comfortable around me. For example, the
mm,
reason that the reason I did the shoot with Marcia yesterday, Marcia Deacon, was because from Michelle Geister, who was one of the minds behind Rap City through Much Music
yeah,
originally back in the day. She gave me a list of all the OGs that she felt should be documented for Project T Dot. She gave me that list 3 or 4 months ago, and I systematically met up with and documented every single person on that list. So
dope.
maybe at this point, some of the people that I've collaborated with and worked with can see that I'm dedicated to following through with the vision for Project T Dot, and they trust that I'll communicate their
Mm,
contributions to Toronto hip hop to a wide audience
yeah,
in a way that resonates with them.
That's dope.
100%, man. And you're really doing it. You know, when I look at the exhibit that first took place at City Hall, you know, like that was something that has not been done. And I would love for you to really break down like how the exhibit at City Hall came into fruition and like what that meant for you to have that type of like institutional recognition. Because, you know, just on a hip hop level, like we've never seen that before. So if you can like speak to a bit about that, like how you worked your magic to make that happen.
Yeah, the I'm not sure if it was with you I was talking to, or maybe it was my therapist, but the timelines for some of the things that I'm doing now are so absurdly long that it's a miracle that I was even able to hang on for so
Mm,
long. So I started Project T Dot December 2006, and I applied for all types of grants and even reached out to different corporations to sponsor different aspects of the project. And I'll get into
mm,
the different aspects later on. And
yeah.
I was just consistently rejected nonstop from
Mm,
probably 2007 or 2008 when I first started to reach out to different organizations for support, either through grants or direct funding. So I was
mhm,
rejected nonstop from 2008 until 2021. And then at that point, Laura Metcalf, you know, our dear friend and colleague,
yeah. Big up.
introduced me to some of the good people behind the public arts at the city of Toronto,
Mm,
and they told me that they were looking for a project to display on the exterior of Toronto City Hall. I showed them Project T Dot, which, you know, miraculously I had not given up on by that
mhm,
point, and they were down, and they decided to fund it. And by the time it was approved, I was also rejected by another organization, to give you an idea of how often the project was rejected. So that's how it came to fruition, and that changed everything for me, because as soon as the city of Toronto invested in the project, um, I had my proof of concept. You know, it was completely validated at that point, and by the time the exhibit was installed on the exterior of City Hall, from that point on, I just worked much harder than I had worked before in regards to promoting Project T Dot, defining its mission and the vision for Project T Dot, and also
mm,
promoting the exhibit while it was up. And the success of that exhibit led to the creation of my current exhibit at Billy Bishop Toronto City Airport. But if I didn't if I didn't have the patience to wait between 2008 and 2021, if I wasn't willing to face an enormous amount of rejection, like at one point I even hired the best grant writer I could possibly hire, and she now works for the government of Canada, and I was still getting rejected then.
wow, that's
Um,
crazy.
I just held on for an enormous amount of time. And yeah, within the context of Toronto hip hop, Project T Dot has been a massive success. And also, even Canon Canada, I started applying to become a Canon Canada ambassador in 2008. I didn't sign a
Yeah,
contract. I didn't sign a contract with them until 2020. So it's like I'm
Sheesh.
getting rejected for huge amounts of time.
Wow,
That's fantastic. I gotta ask a quick question off that, because that is really, I love that resilience, and like that's
yeah.
true dedication to the art form. So I gotta ask, like, I mean, one, in the context of Toronto, is there like a white whale? Is there somebody that you've wanted to capture in your camera that you have not captured yet, that you've been maybe looking to get their picture for 10, 15 years? And and I want to ask that in a Toronto context, and then on just like a global context, if there's like a place you've wanted to go, or a person you wanted to capture, or like even an event that you've wanted to always capture that you have not captured yet. Like what are the future mountain plateaus that you want to capture, like reach as a photographer?
Within the context of Toronto hip hop, you mean?
Yeah, well, it's a two-part
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Like Toronto and then like worldwide.
Yeah, well, within the context of Toronto hip hop, as far as recording artists are concerned, I think by the end of the summer, there really won't be too many left that I would want or need to document. I think I could do a much better job in terms of documenting the breakdancers. That's an area that I believe I could do a much better job.
Mm.
But yeah, I think just through my network, the expanded vision of Project T Dot, the high volume of positive attention that it's received, the success of my first and second Project T Dot exhibits, so many different opportunities come my way. I get invited to all types of events. People, out of the kindness of their hearts or just their belief in Project T Dot will, make recommendations of who I ought to document. So I think
Mm.
as more time goes on and as I involve more people in the project, the list of people that I need to document for Project T Dot will get smaller and smaller. Like I said, Michelle Geister gave me that list, and it's already done. I already documented everyone on the list.
Came through. That's dope.
Yeah, and also,
Yeah.
Gen Z and Gen Alpha, I have a lot of work to do in regards to
Okay.
documenting them. But even them, it's like I remember once I was rushing to Billy Bishop Airport to facilitate a personalized tour because I periodically give personalized tours of the exhibit, and I ran into Killy, who is one of my favorite rappers from Toronto. He had a court date in my area, and I just briefly spoke to him, and I had my camera on me, so I shot a really cool portrait of him, in informal attire, and he thanked me. He thanked me for not only including him in my exhibit, but for including his generation, for not just focusing on my generation, the millennials or older generations. So from the vision for Project T Dot is so broad that the OGs, the people that form the foundation of Toronto hip hop, are to me just as important as the younger generations, and I plan on documenting them all in as much detail as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know what, this is a great segue into my follow-up question. You kind of already answered it, but I'll let you expand a little more. So Toronto has often struggled with memory, right? Especially when it comes to Black culture. So how do you see Project T Dot restoring cultural and historical integrity to our city story?
I see it playing a huge role. At my exhibit at Billy Bishop Airport, there's the 55-inch touchscreen, and it has the world's first publicly available digital database of a major city's hip hop scene. So someone can go to the airport, click on a picture of you, Logic, and then read your bio in French and English, and look at images that I've shot of you since 2007 up until last year. And there's well over 100 people featured in that database, and many of the bios within that database were approved by the people represented in the bios. And that's like a very direct way of educating the public on the contributions of different members of Toronto's hip hop scene. And it also the digital database also shows that Toronto hip hop and hip hop culture in general is not only about music. It's also about the community leaders, the dancers, the choreographers, the managers, the lawyers, the radio hosts, the journalists, the A&Rs, the historians. They're all represented in Project T. It's the entire ecosystem of Toronto's hip hop scene. So, and to like as an added note, I've noticed that other organizations and individuals that have documented Toronto hip hop, they often focus, the people behind those efforts often focus on their own generation, and they overemphasize music. But Toronto's hip hop scene is more complicated than a single generation and more multifaceted than just music. There's other aspects to it.
That's what's up, man. Just
So,
a follow, go ahead.
I was just going to quickly say, like, if you weren't, I love that, we've all kind of appreciated a variety of levels of ways to be involved in community and the culture. If you weren't a photographer, would you have wanted to do another art form or another style of expression in hip hop? Like, do you have rapping aspirations or DJ, or was that ever a possibility?
No, I went to a specialized art school, so you have to understand that since the age of 9, I had to sing, dance, paint, draw, act, and then I had to and then I was also involved in like the regular curriculum for the North York District School Board. So it's like when I like back in the day, it's like I was into like popping and locking basically, but
you got some moves for us, bro.
But but beyond that, it's like visual arts and visual storytelling. That's my thing. That's what I love. And yeah, photography is the art form and the medium that I'm most well known for. But I'm also a producer. I manage logistics and resources, and I have a lot of skills that go way beyond photography, skills that are beneficial within the context of business. And that's also how my first 2 Project T. exhibits came about, and how different aspects of Project T. that are on the way are coming about. My exhibit at Billy Bishop Airport didn't come about because I'm great at photography. It's like a lot of people are proficient when it comes to photography. So it's taken a lot more skills than just photography to bring Project T. to this point. But of course, if I didn't have visually engaging images within Project T. it wouldn't be as successful as it is.
Well, can you speak more to that, right? Because again, having your exhibit in places like City Hall, which has never been done, and Billy Bishop, which has never been done, and I'm sure you have other things coming down the pipeline. Having this like corporate relationship with hip hop that isn't exploitive. It sounds like you have a real gift for negotiations and bringing like integrity into these spaces where often hip hop is receiving the lower end. So can you speak to like just like being in these like corporate spaces, articulating hip hop and getting them to understand? Because sometimes I feel there's like a gap with understanding. So how were you able to kind of bridge that gap?
Yeah, I think it comes down to, like I said, the certain skills that I have that are relevant in business, and also my communication skills. And I think what also brings a lot of integrity to Project T. is that I'm behind Project T. So me, I'm really outside.
Word up.
Like I ran when we were at Bishop Brigante's funeral service. Ian Andre Espinette, I spoke to him briefly, and he commented on how it's like, there's so many people that have documented or have attempted to document Toronto's hip hop scene, but he pointed out that it's like but I'm the one that's here right now at Bishop's funeral. He was basically saying that I actually show up.
Yeah,
So I bring
that's
that,
fact.
so I bring that integrity to different facets of Project T Dot. And because I'm outside so much, and because I have to look at so many people who are featured through Project T Dot face to face, it has to be true to who they are. It has to be true to their contributions within the
Yeah,
context of Toronto hip hop, because I have to see everyone, I have to make sure
yeah, yeah.
that our community, our scene is represented accurately.
That's peace, man.
And,
That's peace, man.
and
Go ahead.
actually, I just want to quickly add, it's so dope that you're continually committed to it for literally like half a decade, decade plus.
Almost two
Because
right now, actually, coming up.
yeah, exactly, in second decade, because whether it was the AGO picture, or it was the manifesto picture that was a dedication to the A Great Day in Harlem, which is was recreated by Double XL, which was, and the Double XL photo I think has like 159 American hip hop artists, which is maybe the single biggest unification of rap artists ever in a single picture. But I like,
Right.
there's never any magazine or photo that could ever capture any single city, nation, one whole scene. Like, it's impossible. So basically even a neighborhood. So it's just like, you can't get it in one photograph, but your continual dedication to really capture is as many people as possible is the best way to
Yeah,
capture, and to do it over generations too is the best way to
yeah,
really do the best you can and really get everybody. But
Yeah, I have pictures of you from 2008, and then I have pictures of you from last weekend.
exactly, right. I've been
yeah,
seeing you in the trenches too, because same way I've been, I'm a rapper. I don't have a Canon sponsorship, but I do shoot porn and I have a few good cameras, and I love what Talib Kweli said, we're hip hop, real life documentarians. That's one thing I've been an open mic host, I've been an MC, DJ, and VJ, various
yeah.
things. So we out here.
What?
Like you said, I love it. We out here, yo.
Yo,
Yeah.
one thing I want to add, like it would be dope. I'm just gonna put it out there. You know what I mean? Just John, maybe this can happen sometime in the future, speaking into existence. But it'd be kind of cool to have like a Project T Dot version of A Great Day in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? I think you can pull it off. I really think, what I mean. You put out the bat signal and people would come through. You know what I mean? So just planting that seed, man. Just putting it out there. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? But go ahead.
I'm totally down for that.
Yeah. Now, just something to add. I mean, you're really like humble in terms of the people that you're affiliated with and associated with. Like you have a lot of incredible mentors in your pocket. Like the legendary Jamel Shabazz, Ernie Penacoli, which we've had featured on the Reminisce Show. These are like real OG photographers that have been really putting in work. Capturing culture, history. You're also connected to Director X. Another legend. From the city now. What are some of their teachings that you received from these mentors that you've been able to apply to Project T Dot, if any?
Yeah, there's so many. There's like, for one, are you familiar with the Pygmalion effect?
No, go ahead, man. Break it down for us.
Yeah, the Pygmalion effect is basically, it's like a cognitive bias where um, people end up living up to the implicit expectations in the environments that they're in.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Understood. So there's a word for that. There's a word for that. Got you, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like Kobe Bryant wasn't the greatest basketball player of all time when he got into the league, but eventually the implicit and explicit expectations from the Lakers organization, his trainers, his competition, etc., led him to step his game up. So by
Mm,
surrounding myself with people like X, Jamel Shabazz, Ernie Panicoli, uh, I've been able to step my game up through their direct mentorship and advice they've given me, but also
mm.
because I know they're watching. You know, so that
Like,
that
is he
is
really about that life? Yeah.
yeah, and it's like these are people that have done, who are prolific, beyond prolific, and who've done so many monumental things in the arts world that it's almost like um, I unconsciously want to demonstrate to them that their words aren't wasted on me. Their time and
Mm,
effort hasn't been wasted on me. And
indeed.
I also want to represent hip hop and Toronto's hip hop scene in the most authentic way I can. But they've given me so much incredible advice, it'd be impossible to summarize here. You know, Jamel has given me advice on so many aspects of
Yeah.
life, not just documenting through photography and otherwise, but so many I've learned so many life lessons from Jamel.
Mm,
You know, I was at
peace.
he invited me to his house in October 2023, and we had so many profound conversations in his basement. He was showing me his old work, and yeah, he's like a you know, America should consider him and Ernie Pamacoli national treasures.
Say
Big
Uh,
less.
facts.
you know, Ernie told me that you know I should experiment with other mediums because you know I'm so engaged in photography and now filmmaking. But he reminded me during the pandemic that other mediums will unlock different parts of my brain, different parts of
Mm,
my consciousness, and I thought that was really great advice. You know, X is another individual that he's given me a lot of great directed advice, but just working with him, especially through Operation Prefrontal Cortex, has
yep.
completely changed my life. I learned so much from him. I had like a resistance to hiring an assistant before I started to work with X, and then I saw how efficient he was with his assistant when I started working with him through Operation Prefrontal Cortex in 2018, and seeing um, how efficient he was with his assistant, inspired me to hire my first assistant
Word.
during the pandemic. And then, yeah, having an assistant is like such a huge force multiplier within my career. And
Mm,
that's just one of like 100 ways that X has indirectly helped me.
got
Dope.
you. Got you. Yeah. So just to you mentioned my mentor mentioned about like other artists, international artists, but want to look at like the scenes now, right? So, in your opinion, like how does the Toronto, I guess, like how does Toronto hip hop differ from other like hip hop meccas like New York, LA, Midwest, etc.? In your opinion?
I'd say that Toronto's hip hop scene is probably more like London's hip hop scene in the UK, in the sense
Mm,
that it's a melting pot of cultures. Um, there's so many different cultures have immigrated to Toronto and have contributed to Toronto as a whole. So our hip hop scene reflects that. Then in comparison to other hip hop meccas, we're the underdogs. We have that chip on our shoulder because we've been so overlooked
mm,
for decades. And because Toronto's hip hop scene, it doesn't have the commercial viability and the economy that other hip hop meccas have. So there are so many downsides to that, but the upside is that
yeah.
it leads people in this environment to become um, more inventive and more resilient,
Mm,
more inventive and more resilient, and perhaps more creative than they would be in other environments. And that's why you see when artists from Toronto blow up in other markets, they blow up in a huge way because
mm. That's big facts.
Toronto's a great training ground. You know,
So real.
Yeah, man. No, that's real right there, man. Big up
yeah.
Toronto, man. It's
But
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
don't have the infrastructure, the economy, or the market size of a place like LA or New York.
100%, man. Yeah. Let me just go on a little bit of a slightly different direction, because as someone like myself, who's involved in community and working with a lot of people, working with a lot of energy, could be challenging at times, and for someone like yourself who has Project T Dot, I'm sure it's one of those situations where like you can't please everybody. So, um, I guess like what I'm asking is like have you encountered like any challenges, like resistance, and then if so, like how do you handle that?
Yeah, I've encountered some challenges, and like yeah, some people judged me pretty harshly soon after I announced the first Project T dot exhibit at Toronto City Hall, because once I posted about it online through social media, it blew up. It was like so many leaders within Toronto's hip hop scene found out about it within a few hours.
Okay.
And then within like the first day or two, I got a handful of angry messages from people that
Oh,
I now respect a lot.
okay.
And my response to that was simply, this is just one art exhibit. It may be the largest art. It is the largest art exhibit ever installed on Toronto City Hall with the Nathan
Mhm.
Phillips Square extension, but it's still ultimately a small part of a much larger project. I haven't forgotten about you. How can I add you to this project? That was
Love
pretty
that.
much my response. And since then, I have gone on to document the vast majority of the people that criticized me in 2022, and I've received very little criticism in regards to my current exhibit, because there's just so many people
Mm,
included, and even the people who aren't included, well, their crew, the organizations they're part of, um, the eras that they've been a part of are represented in the exhibit. And for those people who feel left out, I'll definitely be featuring them in future Project T dot exhibits, and in the coffee table book, and in the film series. And there's so many different aspects to it that are on the way that will, in retrospect, years from now, make my current exhibit and the first one, just seem like another part of a larger project.
mm,
So, hey, I actually have a question. As a photographer in 2025, using the multimedia technology that we're using, I got to ask you, what is the use of or non-use of AI with your visual medium? Like, are you
mm.
for it, against it? Do you use it at some points? How do you feel about AI?
Yeah, I love technology. I adapt to technology. I've been using ChatGPT since it was released, and I use many different other forms of AI, like Gemini. Um, and yeah, I love it. And the thing is, with the Adobe Creative Suite uh, applications like Photoshop and Illustrator, they have different AI systems built into them. So by
Mm.
virtue of using them, you're using AI. But
Right.
like ChatGPT especially, it's like, as a producer, a producer is a manager. A producer is someone who manages logistics. Within the
Mhm.
context of Project T dot, especially my exhibits, I'm managing people, I'm managing money, I'm managing time, I'm managing different stakeholder goals held by
Mm.
different organizations, and I don't know if I would be able to do it as efficiently as I do it without the help of a platform like ChatGPT. It's absolutely
Mm.
miraculous.
Word.
So I'm all for AI. I think the in every industry, literally every single industry, um, the individuals that will be left standing in the near future are those that are well versed in these tools and that know how to leverage them. Um, People with, I
Mhm.
think, to be successful in almost any industry, you basically need a combination of skills that can't be automated, and you have to be able to use these different AI tools, and you need great relationships.
Well said.
Mm.
Well said.
Speaking of great relationships, and we're going to wrap up shortly, but speaking of great relationships, um, for you, like, what has been, like, I guess, the process of, like, even like nurturing relationships, because, like, you're dealing with a lot of people, and how has that, like, played to your advantage?
Yeah, it's relationships are everything. All of my Project T dot exhibits came about due to relationships. You can't
Mhm.
to get the project, like my current projects and upcoming projects. and upcoming facets of Project T Dot, you can't apply for a grant to get some of these. So that it's all due to my relationships and nurturing relationships over extended periods of time, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I've known you for about 19 years. And it's about,
Right.
from my perspective, having shared values with the people that you form business relationships with and friendships with, and also providing value to everyone around you. If you're someone that makes everyone around you better, depending on your definition of better, if you're someone that looks out for everyone around you, um, it it works. It will work to your advantage. And with Project T Dot, I love it is that I love it because I can include so many people in this project. Which
Mm.
is simply which at a certain level selfishly expands my network.
That's what's up, man. No, no, I feel that, man. So, like, last question. And it's funny because like we actually like spoke about this, I think like a couple weeks ago. So, if Project T Dot were to be in a time capsule and opened up 100 years from now, what do you hope the next generation would understand about the city, our culture, and this particular moment in time?
Well, I plan on explaining all of that in as much detail as possible through the different aspects of Project T Dot we've talked about. But I want them to understand who all the individuals and organizations within Toronto's hip hop scene uh, are, um, what they stood for, the challenges that they overcame, what their fears and insecurities were, what their greatest triumphs were, what hip hop meant to them, how they define hip hop as individuals and organizations, um, how Toronto's hip hop scene fits into the larger picture of Toronto as a city. Yeah, there's so much I want to communicate to future generations. And, as you know, within the context of Project T Dot, I'm thinking hundreds of years down the road, what value can this community bring to future generations who may not even understand or value hip hop, but who can potentially
Mm.
learn a lot from the people that have contributed to Toronto's hip hop scene. In your case, someone might not really care. Someone 100 years from now may not care about hip hop, but they can learn a lot from you in regards to mentoring youth. They
One
can
hundred
learn
percent.
they can learn a lot from you about educating people that might feel like they're on the margins of society. They
Love
can
that,
learn
man. Yeah.
Yeah, they can learn a lot about communicating in healthy ways that people are receptive to.
Dope.
So the
Mhm.
people that I've documented for Project T Dot, I think, are fascinating and have a lot of value that can benefit humanity, whether someone is interested in hip hop or not.
Nah, man,
Well
I
said.
love that, man. It's bigger than hip hop, man. Bigger than hip hop. So, for those that don't know, man, like, yo, the exhibit is currently at Billy Bishop. Here's a little glimpse of the vibe, so y'all can check it out. Billy Bishop Airport right now. Please, Ajani, if you want to share where people can find you online, if they want to learn more about the project. Because one thing about Ajani, you know, he's also a journalist, right? So he's always documenting and writing articles, very extensive. So, having information is what he does. So where can people find more if they want to get more tapped in?
Yeah, thanks. My website is ajani.ca, ajani.ca. And my all of my social media is at Ajani Photo, AJANIPHOTO. And for those that are wondering, my name is West African. It's from the Yoruba tribe, and
Mm.
it means one who overcomes the struggle.
One who overcomes struggles, man.
Yes.
Man,
As
that's incredible. I know of Benner, you got any
no,
last
I just wanted
comments?
no, I just wanted to say thank you for documenting our history. I respect and salute people on both sides of the camera, and I look forward to. I appreciated being in it. I love seeing it at City Hall because I live really close to City Hall. So I've seen it at the airport as well, and it's just much success to your future iterations of a very vital, especially since the other media outlets kind of don't exist. So this is for us, by us, and it's on us to really document Toronto hip hop and Black music history. So thanks for all the work you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, and I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that Project T Dot brought us all together and ultimately introduced me to both of you. So I think that's pretty amazing.
Word up. Amen. We
Yeah. So
all
if I'm like
we all loved
scrolling,
it. We all love the same thing. So it's it was inevitable, and it's good to see brothers in the trenches always, documenting and capturing this wonderful history.
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, that's what's up, man. I'm like scrolling through some of these photos, and I'm like, yeah, man, I was around for some of these, man. Like I remember, the Pusha T one. I remember where was it? The classic Beanie Man. Well, we'll save that story for another day. Though that was a hilarious story.
Yeah.
But this one, this is like actually, okay. I know I said we're done, but final comments. Can you just break down this photo right here?
Yeah, this is an amazing moment. This is Drake's first sold out concert. He owns a frame print of this image, and this was at this point, this is 2009. At this point, I had been listening to Drake for half a decade already. I was already a huge Drake fan, and just being on stage with him, standing beside him as the crowd was going crazy, it inspired me because I'm like, wow, he did it. Even
Yeah,
that
yeah,
at that early stage in his career, I was convinced he was going to be huge. And sure enough, his career has snowballed in a massive way since then. And it was just inspiring. And he had so many people that he came up with from Toronto's hip hop scene on stage with him that day, along with his classmates and some of his family members. And yeah, he's taken Toronto hip hop farther than anyone.
that's what's up, man. I was there for that day, and I'm not sure. It might have been you where I got like the VIP pass from, but I got it someone. Might have been a mall. I can't remember who, but I remember just being in that crowd. And or no, let me step back.
That's
I
Sound Academy,
remember
right?
Sound Academy, yeah, which is now Rebel. I remember arriving at Sound Academy and seeing the extensive line outside. I remember I arrived, I was like, because I'm like, okay, but it was, it's a Toronto guy, Toronto rapper or whatever, whatever. We've never seen this type of energy before. And I remember seeing that. I'm just
That's
like,
true.
yo, this is serious. And it's nothing
That's
but females, by the way. Let me just add that. It was straight up,
true.
like nothing but women. So I'm like, okay, cool. And that's the lineup outside. And because I had like the VIP link, I got in, and as I entered Sound Academy, it was rammed all the way to the back. So the lineup was already extensive outside. Those people are probably not even getting in. The place was already at capacity. I couldn't even get to the front. I tried my hardest and I could not get to the front. I It was at that moment I was like, okay. And mind you, back then, like tickets were being sold for $40 each. That's unheard of for like a Toronto artist. I mean, we're used to $10, 15, 20 if you're really popping, but a $40 ticket, I'm like, who's gonna come see a Toronto artist for $40? Like just him. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I know we had other guests or whatever, but the Toronto artist is the main
That's right.
act. And this is who people are coming to see. Crazy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
man.
standing beside Bun B watching him perform, and I'm like, this is
That's
crazy.
right.
This is crazy.
Yeah, but you was the guest.
Yeah,
Did
man.
Cardi
It was wild.
come out early that day too? I think there
Yeah,
was a
I think I saw him there. I think he
yeah,
was there. Yeah.
pretty, but yeah, that was the homecoming show. Yeah, that was the first big pop off.
It was
Yeah.
Oh,
wild, man. It was wild. All right,
it's
brother.
amazing
Well,
that we're all in the same building and we're all still together. And we're all shout out to Bishop
well,
Grande. One last thing, it was really
yeah,
dope to see all of us there representing. So thanks for that. And
Yeah. God bless
yeah,
Bishop.
man.
good times
Absolutely,
and bad.
absolutely.
God bless Bishop Brigante for sure and his fan. But through the ups
Yeah,
and downs, good times and bad, we just keep capturing this hip hop.
that's
Yeah.
it, man. All right,
Hands
man. So
up.
we're gonna sign off like that, man. So Reminisce Show every Tuesday, 7 p.m. live Eastern time. And thank our special guest, Ajani Charles, for pulling up, sharing his knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and just for really preserving our hip hop, man. You know, our story, our culture, because these moments come by so quickly. Like imagine, you know, John, like you weren't there for that shot, you know, on stage with Drake. You know what I'm saying? Because I haven't really seen much documentation from that day, you know, or not being at like Bishop's funeral, which is like super meaningful and impactful for like the years to come. Like people will be you know, referencing that, you know what I'm saying, like for, you know, for the years to come. So big up to you on your journey, man. You're definitely doing God's work, and you know, I just appreciate. Hey, I'm just happy to be part of the journey. You know what I'm saying? I'm just happy to be coming along for the ride. You know, so salute to you, brother.
Yeah, thank you both. You know, you both inspired me to keep Project T Dot going and to make sure that it's as true to our hip hop community as possible. So thanks a lot,
That's
and
it.
I really appreciate the opportunity to speak about all of this.
Oh
No
man.
problem.
All right, man. We're going to sign off like that, man.